I think a huge myth that people get is that if you get good grades, do what is asked of you in the job description, are generally kind and friendly, and speak honestly, that things are just going to work out for you. But there is a missing piece, which is, do other people connect with you and like you and want you to succeed? And I think it's perhaps the most underrated piece of success.
Is it something that you can learn?
Yes, 100%. They can be learned. Are there people in the world that have the gift of gab? Absolutely. But if you want to put in the effort to socialize, have friends, have a significant other, you can 100% learn these things if they are not natural to you.
I said there was a big myth. This is probably the first or second biggest myth, is that you can't learn it. And that I believe that for 18 years of my life. So the first portion of my life was charisma is being able to throw a football better than the other kids, right? Charisma is just the thing that you have at 13 that I definitely didn't have. And it was only around 18, 19, 20 that I realized that the way that I approached people in conversations had a dramatic impact on the responses that I got. So it is most definitely something you can learn. I feel like I'm a testament to that.
Welcome back to my channel. You're most likely a new audience member, as this is a newer channel. I am Reese Lee. I created this channel specifically for men, mostly younger single men who are having trouble connecting with people in real life, offline, whether it be making friends or finding a romantic partner. I am a woman who does not like and actually is disgusted by the sea of women that are mocking the male loneliness epidemic. I am a big believer in a time of division that we should be supporting one another and finding closeness and helping people who do not have the skills or lost the skills to build connection. So welcome. I hope you feel comfortable, and this video and any of the videos of mine you choose to watch are a source of information as well as hope.
What's the difference between the guy who went on holiday that day on the plane versus the guy that came back in terms of skills or knowledge? What was the actual difference in a person?
A little extra context to this clip. Before Charlie Houpert became incredibly successful with co-founding his wildly popular YouTube channel with Ben Altman called Charisma on Command that has nearly 7 million subscribers. Amazing. Love it. He was a introvert. Well, he still considers himself an introvert, but he seemed to be very shy and not confident, kind of purposely blended in the background. Seemed to have quite a few unrequited crushes, and he really wanted to get the girl. So when he went to study abroad at 19, always recommended if you can. It's an amazing experience, I hear. But he decided he was really going to make an effort and change who he is, be more interactive with people, really try to converse with people he did not know, strangers in another language he says he was not very good at, but he was going to, do what he could to be more confident and change who he was to get the results he really wanted in life.
One of the primary things that I did when I went abroad was ask questions that I otherwise would have kept to myself. I showed up, I don't speak Spanish, right? So there's even more reason to, oh my gosh, I could make a mistake and it could go really bad and I could be bumbling. But I made a rule that I was gonna ask, if I didn't know where my classroom was, I wasn't gonna sit with my piece of paper and try to work it out on the map. I was going to ask a human. And when it came time to figure out where there was a good restaurant or a good place to go out at night, I was always going to ask someone. And thanks to that habit, as well as the friendliness of Latin people, that extended my comfort zone and gave me a number of experiences of, you put yourself out there, something magical happens.
Incredibly commendable.
What I carried from 19 to say 28 or 29 was, if this interaction with you and I or anyone doesn't go well, there's something that I could have done differently in order to make it go well.
The beautiful thing about going and interacting with strangers, whether it be at the grocery store or when you're grabbing a cup of coffee, walking the dog, you will not most likely ever see these people again. So if you quote unquote fumble, you're not going to see them again. So there's no need to stress about the interaction or did I make a fool of myself? Did I say the wrong thing? Just use it as a learning opportunity for next time, truly. And you can meet people anywhere. I was at an MRI a few months ago and I was sitting in this very cold hallway with a few chairs on one side and another set of chairs on the other side in these cloth robes that are open on the back. And it was me and another guy sitting across from me who was very attractive. And I'm someone who I talk to people anywhere. And he had these huge bruises on his shoulder. I asked what he was getting his MRI for. Was it his shoulder? And he kind of looked over and was like, oh, no. He kind of was interested in the conversation, kind of not. And then when the tech came out to talk to me about why I'm having several MRIs this week for my spine, ears perked up, and the technician walked away and he was like, why are you having so many MRIs? Like, what's wrong with your spine? I was like, oh, let me tell you. And then we just started chatting away for the next, 5, maybe 10 minutes until I got called back. Talked about his baseball career. Apparently he plays pro baseball and he has to get MRIs every time he switches teams or is traded teams. It's a really lovely conversation. Did my MRI, came back, and as he was going back, he saw me. He's like, it was really good talking to you. I was like, awesome. When you aren't making a big deal about it, it's not anything scary because you're like, I'm never going to see this person again. At worst, I fumbled what I was going to say. My bad. They maybe thought I was odd. Best case scenario, it could have ended up with me getting his number. But that wasn't the point of me interacting with him. I was just trying to pass the time. Our phones were away in lockers. We couldn't get to them, and we were just sitting there in this cold hallway in these really embarrassing, uncomfortable robes. So it was just nice to chat, honestly. My goal in every conversation I have is to make that person smile. A genuine smile. Because not everyone gets to have a point in their day where there's a moment of genuine happiness, and to be someone that can provide that, there's very few things better in this world. And if it is a man that I find attractive or may be romantically interested in, especially if I'm interested in possibly asking them on a first date, I really try and make them laugh. Like a true, genuine laugh, not one that's polite. So maybe go into your interactions just trying to make them smile.
And so that gave me this fuel to constantly adjust because I was going, okay, that one didn't go great. What could I have done? Where did it break down? It was 3 minutes into conversation, but I felt they sort of dropped off when I started answering that question about my boring job in a really boring way. So let me in this next interaction talk about my job in a way that is a bit more exciting. And so I was really spending a lot of time obsessively reviewing and talking with my co-founder and best friend at the time, like what happened, where did it break down, what could we try differently, and then running these experiments. It was genuinely an obsession. And
don't be obsessive. Don't be obsessive about it. It's not that serious. Yeah, go ahead and reflect if someone wasn't interested, but it could be that when you were trying to chat up a stranger, they were busy or they just weren't in the mood to talk. One thing that is so important that a lot of people don't realize is do not take everything so personally. One of my friends whose furry companion is with me now, the first few times we met, she was not interested in talking. We met at one of the local dog parks where our former neighbor was picking up her furry companion, and she just got off of work. She looked tired and she didn't engage, and that was fine. When we talked about it a while ago, she's like, oh, I remember the first time we met. And I was like, well, we'd met a couple times before that. I was like, but you didn't seem interested in speaking. And she's like, what do you mean? So I said, you just gotten off of work. We said hello. You just didn't seem interested. And she said, am I just not approachable? I was like, well, you knowing what you do for work, of course you were exhausted. So I didn't take it personally, and I didn't take it as a slight. So when you did, strike up a conversation with me, I was like, cool. And now we're very good friends. If you internalize that people aren't interested in you, or people are blowing you off in the sense of they aren't engaging, they leave the conversation, you don't know what they have going on, especially if it's people that are your neighbors or you see on a regular basis. Just continue to be nice, smile, say hello. And if they're someone worth engaging or you seem friendly enough, because a lot of people in this world aren't friendly, they will come back and talk to you at some point when they're in the right headspace. This has happened so many times. Moral of that story, try not to take things personally and continue to just be friendly and smile and be open to engaging with them when they go to engage with you and being like, well, they don't want to talk to me the last couple times, why would I engage with them? Do you want to talk to people when you're having a bad day? Do you want to talk to people when you were dead tired? No. Like, allow people to be present and approach you. And until then, just be kind, smile, and you are good to go in that sense.
Instead of doing this and then the sitting with the hands in the pockets, right? That creates a loop of feeling uncomfortable. If you notice yourself at a networking event or a bar or anywhere where you're feeling uncomfortable and you notice that you're doing this and you can say, okay, I can't go to my brain and make these anxiety go away up here, but I can choose how I hold myself. This is the Jordan Peterson, stand up straight.
Ugh, Jordan Peterson.
Standing like this, a little bit more open. That tends, and I can feel it now. I don't know why I didn't do it at the beginning. I'm a little bit rusty, geez. I feel immediately more grounded, right? I feel immediately more safe, comfortable, and like I can take my time in this interaction rather than having to get the answer right for you, right for the audience.
Yes, body language is everything. Don't be so closed off with your head down, your phone out. How are people going to approach you? I know specifically women will absolutely wear headphones so people do not approach them. Or they will have one earphone in and their phone out so they can hear everything, but so people do not approach them. Don't approach people in those situations. But if you're someone who wants to be approached and seem approachable, have open body language. It's totally okay if you're nervous, if you are someone who fidgets with things. I have my rings. I know men who wear a ring on their middle finger to play with, to fidget with. Also, the best body language is to have a smile on your face. People are going to approach people who seem like they're in a good mood, that seem like they're happy. Why would they approach someone who has, resting bitch face or who looks like they hate the world? No one wants to interact with those people. I don't think you do either. So don't be one of them. Have open body language. If you're someone that talks with your hands, talk with your hands. Holding your head up high with confidence makes such a big difference for when you're approaching someone and talking to them, and vice versa. This takes practice. This takes being present and paying attention to your own body language. But again, try and just smile.
Okay, so on the other end of this, what are the mistakes people make that cause disconnection? Talking about yourself, is that?
I don't think so. In what sense?
So like if you walk into a room and you immediately start talking about yourself, is that going to be, if you're over talking?
Good question. It's about, do people have opt-in points? So are you stopping and giving the person a chance to re-opt into that line of communication?
Absolutely. Make sure you are someone who is allowing people to opt into the conversation, even if it's pausing. I will talk really, really fast and really excited and not allow people to jump in. So I have to consciously remind myself to pause, even when it's little things like the dreaded talking about the weather, which if you are someone who is relearning to socialize and be confident, or learning for the first time how to really engage with people and be confident, then going with the basics like the weather is totally fine.
I'm going to give you my life story, right? I'm not giving someone a chance to opt in. But if I make it 3 to 5 sentences and I say, I grew up on the West Coast and it was perfect because there was surf everywhere. And then I met my wife, but she's super close to her family and I just wanted to be a family man. So now I live in the middle of the country and whatever. You give like 3 hooks that people can hook into and then you're done. That's fine. But some people don't give a chance for anyone to step in and get a word in edgewise. So that's another piece that I think.
And the other day, it's very, very hot where I live. Thankfully, we don't have any humidity unless it rains. But I was saying when someone was complaining about how bad the heat was, I said, we are so blessed that it didn't reach 100 and 10 for several days in a row until August or end of July. So I consider myself so blessed. You remember how hot it was last summer, and they immediately jump in and, continue complaint, which is totally fine. Like, it's very valid to complain about the unnecessary heat. And then I was walking my Basset, who is over here chewing on a bully stick. So if you hear that, my apologies. I said, with the heat, like, what are you doing to entertain, insert dog's name? They kind of jumped in and were like, I don't know, like, she's only a year old, so it's been really hard, and she's been darting back inside because of the heat. I gave just basic, things that we're doing, like scent training in the house, which is truly breaking up treats and having him smell the treat, and then I throw it and he goes and finds it and then comes back and he has to sit to smell the next treat before I throw it. Very simple, but it tires him out. And I was saying, take the bully sticks and I will fill them, I'll soak them in chicken stock and then go ahead and bake them for 10 minutes at 375 degrees, let them cool, and then I put peanut butter in them and I freeze them. It takes them 2 to 3 times as long to eat and enjoy. And I had, recommended that. And then I said, I have an extra peanut butter filled one. Let me go grab it. I got a message from her a couple hours later saying her dog was still chewing on it and she really wants to get that for her dog. Made life so much easier. I know it's not always going to be when you're meeting strangers and having small talk, offering something physical to give to them. But people in the neighborhood, neighbors, absolutely. It started out of us just complaining about the weather and then took a turn to, being like, yeah, thankfully it isn't that hot. Let's take our blessings. And then you can commiserate about the same things. You can talk about basic things like the weather, or, what's going on with the dogs.
But also, you will see that sometimes early in an interaction, if you indicate these points of, like, people will often comment on what you have to say. You don't need to ask them necessarily. Like, if you give that thing that they like, you often don't have to, like, they will jump in with the thing that connects to it.
I was just thinking about interactions that I've even had today, and like the person that I spoke to in the gym, what I've rolled up to them and what could I have said to them that would have been got us past the fluffy small talk. Because I met someone in the gym that I've known loosely known.
Yeah.
And it was one of those interactions where they go, hey, how are you? You're in LA now? Hey, yeah. Where are you going to live? I'm like, I don't know. And then like, so yeah, fires. Are you okay? Yeah. And I just...
So let's do this. Where are you going to live? I think I even probably asked you or
everyone's asking me because I've posted on Instagram.
Yeah. Take a person in the gym. You don't know anything about them. Mm-hmm. And I know context, it's going to be dependent on what you want to learn about them. What types of things do you wish you could connect over more? And I know there's this sense of like whatever they want, but like you clearly care about business. You clearly care, like what opportunities do you want to open up for yourself? Do you want to find a surf buddy? Do you want to find what is it?
This is excellent advice, in my opinion. The going into interactions with people you are intentionally engaging with, once you're comfortable talking to strangers, is, are you looking for a friend that you can grill with on the weekends? Do you have a specific hobby like books? I am an author. So one of the fun things that I was able to connect and further my writing in a professional way was with a smoke shop owner I've become friends with. And he is a very skilled editor, led editing sessions, courses at universities, and us just talking about books was so fantastic. So people you are even just acquaintances with, if there's something exciting going on, like, fantastic. I ask if you can share this exciting news. People love to see people happy and excited because, the way of the world, a lot of people just aren't happy, which is very understandable. So people like to see people that are excited. And one of the great things about that is one day, and how this all started is I came in and I started talking about my best friend's birthday bundle. And I won't give what is in it because she's opening it next week and she watches these videos. But one of the items had to do with books. So we started talking about books, and then how he was an avid reader and how I'm an author and a published author in my book was a excellent summer read because it is set in the summer. At least my published book. I've written many, and so with that, it turned into I want to start a book club, and then it turned into me organizing a book club. So, once you meet someone and they're no longer a stranger, you can start, kind of gearing what you want that friendship to turn into, or it could turn into a friendship based on something you didn't even know they love too. Also, I find that when you are meeting people for the first time in the most random interactions, that when you start talking about things you're passionate about that mean so much to you, you find out what they're passionate about. And a lot of times when it's basic things that involve helping other humans, people are all about it. I met a neighbor's sister who was watching his dog, and when we were both outside, we'd never met before, we started chatting and we were talking about the weather, and I said, in this heat, again, thank God for us having AC. It really hurts me to see people on the street in this heat, and that's why I always will have cold water bottles that I bring with me when I go out and run errands or to the doctor's appointment. And then I usually will have a Chewy bar, rubber banded or something like that. And I also do panhandler bundles. And so, she said, yeah, it really hurts me to see. So I told her about the cold water I bring, and she was like, oh, that's so cool. I've always wanted to, do something about going to shelters or, whatnot and helping people on the streets. And I then told her about the panhandler bundles I do. And immediately we started talking about what I did, and she wanted to help. And we've had multiple conversations since. We got each other's phone numbers. It comes down to, yes, talking about or trying to lead the conversation to what you want that interaction to start leading up to. Is it someone you're interested in being friends with, or is it someone you may be interested romantically, any of that kind of thing. But when you start talking about what you are passionate about, what brings you joy in this world, especially when it brings a smile on your face, that leads to an interaction those people don't forget. And every time she's here, she will automatically come up, start chatting with me, and I learned so much about her just from, again, starting with complaining about the weather to this thing I'm very passionate about of helping people on the streets, especially with everything going on. I want to help as much as possible, so I'm passionate, and it turns out so is she, and she wants to help with that. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I made a friend when I just started talking about the weather.
These rules on how we should engage are set in stone. And what I think few people have done, if you think of your entire life, you're either hitting it perfect, undershooting, or overshooting. Everyone's fears of overshooting, but they spend almost all of their lives undershooting.
Overshooting is in coming on too strong.
Yeah, and that it's okay. It was a trauma dump on that person would be an overshare, or like, ooh, I maybe shouldn't crack that joke at a funeral would be going there first type of a thing. We have less than a dozen of those usually in our life, and we have hundreds and thousands of undershooting. So what I'm encouraging people to do is take the risk of the overshoot, because you're already missing.
More excellent advice from Charlie. Shoot your shot. It doesn't have to be romantic. Shoot your shot with people you don't know that could be someone who's important in your life. Trauma dumping, it's rude. And if you do that with someone and they're like, you're a bit much, that's okay. Practice makes perfect. You learn from your mistakes. But like he was saying, that's not something that often happens, because when you start trauma dumping, it's either because you're super overwhelmed with emotions that you haven't been able to get off your chest, or it's with someone you're already really comfortable with. So trauma dumping on someone you don't really know, who's a stranger or an acquaintance, it's not really going to happen. But absolutely make conversation, because you don't know what's going to happen. People are often so afraid these days of making a fool of themselves. And I do think a big part of that is everyone filming strangers and putting it on social media. But I'm grateful I have not encountered that, so I don't know how often it actually happens. If these interactions that you want to take aren't happening because you're not making the approach, then you're missing all these shots. You're doing it so many times of just approaching people, whether it be you're talking to the person in front of you at the grocery store. I bring up the grocery store a lot because it's a super easy way to meet people and talk to people. People aren't angry or annoyed usually unless they're in a rush kind of thing, or they're on the phone. So shoot your shot. Shoot your shot. Talk to that person that looks interesting. If they're wearing a t-shirt that has a band that you like, if you've been on this channel and you say, I wear a ton of band t-shirts, and I've had people actually ask me about my band t-shirt, I didn't think they would know these people. That was a fun conversation. It didn't lead anywhere else. It could have if I wanted to push the conversation further, but it was just nice to have that conversation. We are losing our ability to socialize and have human connection. And I want to be a voice that takes us out of a world where all we do is socialize online and get rage baited, because the real world has some amazing people and good people who will be there for you, who will care about you and be there in your time of need. And if you're in a time of need right now, you know how important it is to have those people. And we all go through it. So please put in the effort. It is worth it, even if it's scary getting out of your comfort zone. But again, practice really does make perfect.
The easiest tip that I can give is one more sentence. So when people ask me, like, what is something that I could do to work on my charisma? I would say, you have dozens of interaction in a day if you're in any sort of populated area. You have an interaction with the Uber driver, you have an interaction with the person behind the counter, you have an interaction with the person who you get into an elevator with. And there's usually a prescribed amount of social interaction that you have. Maybe it's hey, maybe it's even less than hey. The advice that I give to people is, if you want to get started, one more sentence. One more sentence than usual. So as you get into the elevator and the normal sentence is, what floor? Anything in addition to that. What floor are you in? Oh, have you lived in this building for a long time? You know, and all of a sudden you get to know your neighbors, because the person that is just the elevator person who you're putting them on floor 3 now has a name. And every time it sort of compounds and expands, and you get to have a wider social circle.
The thing that I think is missing from this entire podcast, just in general, is not only is speaking to people to engage, to hopefully build something or to just practice, but just engaging with people in person on a regular basis instead of engaging people online or virtually. It is something that humans need. We need that interaction. Even just chatting with people sporadically while you're running errands, it brings more life to you.
Recognizing that it's on you. It's your responsibility. And
yes, it's very much on you. Do you want to be someone who has close friends you can go and spend time with after working long hours or a long week at a job? Do you want a romantic partner you can confide in, snuggle with, and enjoy more physical, intimate aspects? It is on you, 100%. But do not be obsessive about it. There's no need to be.
Take all the situations where you're interacting with another person, whether it's at your work, dating, friends and groups, and take the times that you're feeling that you're not grounded in that sense of confidence that you maybe have when you're sitting at home on the couch with your friend or your family, and bring the best version of yourself to those situations.
Could be a complete stranger, an acquaintance, a family member, someone you're romantically interested in. Try and make them smile. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something and you are willing to try out any of these techniques if you are someone who is not super social or is wanting to make friends or find a significant other. Engaging with anyone who is not online. And please always remember that before you can be a good romantic partner, you need to learn to be a good friend. So making friends is the first step. And always remember, just trying to make them smile.